In the face of a world in turmoil and whirling doubts about Korea's reunification, our narrator holds fast to the conviction that his experience is unique. He is adamant that his story serve as a beacon of hope in this age of uncertainty and doubt. Now let's go out on this journey, beginning with a story based on a near-death experience. The question of what will become of Earth has been on his mind for more than 30 years, particularly in the face of widespread doubt. Anticipating the inquisitive looks and raised eyebrows, he proceeds to narrate, realizing that sometimes the most unexpected places can yield deep insights. Going back to 1991, an 18-year-old devoid of worries and cares navigated a period of time when the Soviet Union's aggressive stance was still looming. As the team captain for his high school football team, he was involved in a budding romantic relationship with his future wife. He had offers from other universities competing to enroll him, promising him a straight path, even though he had dreamed of playing in the NFL since his days in the Pee Wee League. The possibility of a full scholarship was alluring. Their chance of having a perfect season that year depended on one game. This match was crucial, and the dreams of the entire school were at stake. Students expressed their well wishes in record numbers on the day of the game, realizing that an undefeated season was possible. On game day, the air was electric with excitement and passion. Pupils yelled things like "undefeated," "let's go," and "we're going to dominate," with great fervor. However, beneath their assurance there was a lurking doubt, an unsaid "what if?" In an attempt to steer clear of a football-only mindset, the other team lost 42-35 in the end. Thereafter, festivities continued far into the wee hours of the morning. Over the course of the year, the triumphant squad received an overwhelming number of invites to parties. The night of a momentous event, an unsettling premonition gripped him and said, "James, think again. Remain where you are. It won't harm you to skip a lonely party." Looking back, he wished he had paid attention to that inner guidance, but he was an unproblematic 18 at the time. Co-captain Derek, who was 6'5" and 275 pounds, told people about a meeting that was going on in the area. His combative demeanor was well known, particularly when intoxicated. It was standard procedure to step in and stop misbehavior at parties, and this evening was no exception. They should have refused the drug offer when they were at the party with his future wife. Derek was getting ready for a brawl with a stranger outside the door. Against his own warning, he intervened to soothe Derek. Things got physical and heated. They believed the struggle was done, but the adversary returned, brandishing a firearm, and opened fire, wounding both Derek and himself. His companion and girlfriend were terrified by the chaos they could not see. He felt disengaged as the paramedics arrived. It distracted him to hear them talk about his gunshot wounds and to watch him on the gurney of an ambulance. In the ambulance, he watched the paramedics tend to his body. He was told, "Hang in there, kid, don't give up on me," by a paramedic who was taking an 18-year-old male casualty due to shooting to the hospital. His essence seemed like it was being propelled through a tunnel brighter than the sun as he watched the body tremble and then go inert on the stretcher. While he made his way into the glowing tunnel, he had the fleeting idea, maybe this is like getting caught in a tornado. Understanding emerged from behind the dazzling light and clouds. He looked for the most beautiful song and found him. After witnessing him and the angelic chorus, he was certain of two things. He was dead first, and second, he wanted to stay. Love and peace and an indescribable mixture of feelings that our limited vocabulary could not adequately convey enveloped him. To try to visualize one's greatest happiness compounded indefinitely would be a little beginning to describe his feelings. He was amazed when Jesus drew near. Jesus had curly hair, a well-groomed beard and mustache, brown sandals, green eyes with bluish pupils, and a flowing robe as he stood before him. As a devout child, he found it difficult to acknowledge that the stories told about Jesus on earth were not accurate. The Prince of Peace from 2016 bore the most likeness in his opinion. Deeply in thought, he was startled out of his dream by the voice of Jesus speaking directly to his brain. "Hello, James," came from Jesus's lips, and he felt as though his mind was being thoroughly searched. "No, you are not dead, my son. You are in a period of change." "Transition," he muttered. "Yes, my child. Your soul is stuck on earth and at a crossroads, unsure of whether to go back home." Even though he knew exactly what tied him, the temptation to stay was too strong. "What happens if I decide to stay?" he said in silence. "If you choose to stay, you shall dwell with me and my Father in the celestial abode." "And should I choose to go back?" he asked himself. Jesus answered calmly, saying, Many will be very happy when you return, especially those who have not yet entered this world. Three children appeared out of nowhere and addressed him as their father as he was speaking. When he realized that his future children would call him Dad, the choice seemed apparent. He told Jesus his decision. Jesus answered, "Very well, my son, but before I send you back, there is something I must unveil. The earth is changing dramatically, and you need to be aware of what's going to happen next." Immediately, a retrospective of his life began. Moments of pride and regret, the suffering done, the hurt felt, and the eerie recollection of cruel remarks made to his mother all stood out. Jesus maintained his objectivity throughout this introspective trip by not passing judgment or offering correction. After the life review, he saw glimpses of his future entwined with the fate of Earth. His injuries would eventually force him to enroll in a trade school to learn the art of welding, as they would prevent him from receiving a college scholarship. His fiancée would move to another state to continue her education, which would cause them to temporarily part ways. However, they would eventually get back together, get married, and raise the kids who had shown up next to him and Jesus. Many more private information surfaced, details he chose to keep under wraps for now. Unfortunately, there were no disclosures about lottery numbers or anything like that. Jesus also revealed Earth's destiny, warning of the fall of the Soviet Union, terrorist attacks inside the U.S., and the start of World War III, which was sparked by the reunification of the Koreas and caused widespread unrest. How big the resulting disaster will turn out was still unknown. Of course, this is the paragraph that was produced by combining the ideas of burstiness and perplexity. When he asked Jesus for clarification on the mysterious visions, he was given a firm answer. "You must understand what is in store for you when you return." The paramedic was propelled back into the ambulance and thrust into his body before he could have second thoughts. He had just used a defibrillator, and there was a metallic taste of blood in his mouth along with excruciating pain from his wounds. "Hello again, my dear. We're almost at the hospital. Please don't talk or move." When they arrived at the hospital, a group of trauma doctors, shocked that he was still alive, immediately took care of his wounds. His recuperation took time, and in that time he witnessed the fall of the Soviet Union, which was consistent with the earlier revelations that Jesus had given him. The years that followed were filled with hardships. He lost his scholarship, he made amends with his partner, and eventually their child was born. The devastating events of the terrorist attacks in 2001 brought them closer together, and he persisted in seeking personal development and atonement from those he had wronged. Even after these experiences, Joseph continued to struggle with the reason for Jesus showing him the future. Even though pardon was asked for and received, some people had to face the consequences of their actions. One of them ended up behind bars. Over time, his relationship with his wife grew stronger, and he held fast to the hope of going back to that heavenly light. After 31 years, telling his story again gave him hope and comfort and strengthened his belief that everyone will eventually enter a better world that is watched over by a watchful Heavenly Father.